Mr Speaker, and I thank the Right Honourable Lady for her statement, although this data seems to be under particular protection because I didn't get advance copy. I'm sure that was an oversight on her department's part. The SNP welcomes the announcement of the Centre for Data Ethics and Innovation. In the age of big data and tech firm power, it's vital that users have confidence in their data being used in a safe and ethical manner. And it's excellent, I have to say, if I'm right and correct, to see a gender balance on the board, racial diversity, and I hope within the organisation we may see appointments that ensure LGBTI people and people with disabilities are also properly represented and reflected. And I hope that she will do her best to ensure the board will make every effort to bridge the gender data gap. I'm sure she's well aware of Caroline Criado-Perez's recent book, Invisible Women, and the issues around gender data gap. She may be aware of the comments made by Myra Buvanik, the UN Foundation Senior Fellow working on Data 2X, which is an initiative aimed at closing the gender data gap. She has said the dearth of data makes it difficult to set policies and gauge progress, preventing governments and organisations from taking measurable steps to empower women to improve their lives. I'm sure she will agree that for our governments to design the right policies, we must ensure that we collect data on all parts of our society. Otherwise, how can we track progress and evaluate developments? Will she discuss these matters with the board and report back on progress? And will she also lay out how the Centre will work with devolved nations and governments on these issues? And finally, Mr Speaker, there have been reports this week that airline booking algorithms are identifying families with the same surname who are travelling together on the same flight and then deliberately seating them in different parts of the aircraft with the aim of encouraging them to pay extra money to sit together. Does she agree that this is an example which would constitute an unethical use of data and targets poorer families? Will she confirm that this is exactly the practices like this that the Centre will look at, and perhaps this is a starter for 10?
I thank the Honourable Lady for her questions, and I do apologise that she did not have sight of the statement before. I quite agree with many of the points she has raised. It is essential that users can have the confidence of what is done with their data. And that was one of the driving forces behind the introduction of the new data protection legislation earlier in the year. I'm glad she has noted the better diversity on the board of the new institute. In my view, that is absolutely vital for the very reasons she sets out, that it is extremely important that gender and LGBTI and other groups are well represented during the decision-making processes of how data is used, as well as on the board of the new body. I will certainly discuss those matters with the new board, who I meet for the first time at their meeting on Monday next week. Yes, we must continue our discussions with devolved administrations indeed, and I have already condemned in the strongest possible terms the practices by some airline companies about which she updated the House just now. It's quite outrageous. And these are questions, really, of corporate governance as well as the use of AI. But one of the reasons we've set the Centre up is to make sure that AI is a force for public good rather than manipulation in such a cynical attempt at profiteering.